All right, it's game number 31 for the Celtics as they welcome the Utah Jazz at TD Garden. Welcome back to the Celtics pregame report. I'm your host, Josue Pavone. I'm joined by Andy Larsen of ESPN Salt City Hoops, who's in town to take in this matchup. Andy, thanks for checking in.
Hey, no problem.
So take me back to this past summer. Gordon Hayward is on the verge of making his decision on whether he's going to stay in Utah or head to Boston. Hayward ultimately decides he's going to reunite with his college coach in Boston and leave the only NBA team he's ever played for. Your initial reaction to the signing, then in comparison to how you feel today about Hayward leaving?
You know, I think there was such nervousness in Utah that Hayward would eventually leave and did leave on July 4th that, it wasn't unexpected when he did. You mentioned the Brad Stevens tie and everything else there with how he could compete in the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics, get multiple All-Star bids, that sort of thing. And I don't know that it was really a surprise for Jazz fans, but I think it hurt nonetheless to lose their franchise player in free agency for nothing. And, the front office for the Jazz and everyone else kind of thought that they could retain him, that they had a good core in Utah and could continue to compete for things moving forward, especially getting guys like Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell, etc. So, it was obviously a big loss, a franchise-changing loss, and, Jazz fans absolutely still remember that day of, when Gordon Hayward left Salt Lake City.
Tell me everything there is to know about Donovan Mitchell. Clearly, the organization was big on the Louisville product on draft night. I mean, they traded up for the right to draft him. How good is this rookie?
I'll start off the court, honestly, because he's an exceptional human being from the moment he came into Utah for his draft workout. He blew us away in the reporter corps with just how well-spoken he is, how intelligent he is, how well he answered our questions, and then just that he wanted to work out for the Utah Jazz, even though that he was likely to be drafted 10 spots above where the Jazz had the pick at the time. Now, they traded up to get Donovan Mitchell, but he's, honestly the best interview on the team as a rookie, which is really rare. So, and then on the court, I mean, obviously, we've seen some of this talent is really superstar level talent that's kind of clearly needs to be caressed a little bit, needs to be improved a little bit, but there's just so much there from his first step to the rim, his hesitation game. He's been a really good finisher at the rim, really creative finisher at times, finishing with both hands on both sides of the basket. He's got a little short floater and finger roll game as well. And then really kind of what's made him special is, from a Jazz point of view anyway, is hitting those three-point shots from the outside. He's actually, through 30 games, hit more three-point shots than any rookie in NBA history. And it's, that pull-up game where he can hit a shot off the pick and roll, going left, going right, even step-back threes. And, he just has every single sign of being a star talent in this league for a long time to come. He's, as bad as Gordon Hayward was leaving for the Jazz and was for Jazz fans, Donovan Mitchell looks like the future of the Utah Jazz franchise.
This edition of the Celtics pregame report is brought to you by DraftKings.com. Head over to DraftKings.com and use the promo code CLNSmedia for a free sign-up with your first deposit and your share at $10,000 in total prizes. That's DraftKings.com. Use the promo code CLNS and get yourself paid. Andy, for a team that's played 17 games without Rudy Gobert, they enter tonight with a 13-15 record, and that's not bad. Mitchell, of course, has been phenomenal. Derek Favors is healthy, and Rodney Hood is off to probably the best start of his career, averaging 17.6 points and shooting 41% from behind the arc. I've always been a huge fan of his game. But his potential, to me, has been a tough one to gauge. He's still only 25 years old, but I can't call it. Has he just about hit his ceiling, or is his best still yet to come?
Yeah, I think what we've seen so far this season is probably his ceiling. He did miss 7 games with that ankle soreness and only came back last night against Chicago. But in terms of what he's been able to do when he has been on the court, even in a bench role, he's been consistently scoring 15 to 20 points, even had a couple of 30-point games in there as well this season. So that's kind of what Jazz fans want to see from Rodney Hood, is kind of consistent shooting from outside, getting into the paint a little bit and drawing some contact if possible, getting to the free throw line, and just being a consistent scorer. And then from there, his defense is starting to round out. I'd say he's probably an average defender at this point, which is kind of what the Jazz need from that spot, given who else they have on the roster. And he's going to be a free agent this upcoming summer, so it's going to be a question of how much money is he worth? Is he a $10 million a year guy, $15 million, $20 million a year guy? Do the Jazz want to pay him as much as Denver paid Gary Harris, for example? So those are kind of the questions. I think he probably is realistically at about his ceiling if he continues to play the way he has for the majority of the season.
Who wins tonight?
I gotta say the Boston Celtics. I mean, the Jazz have lost 4 in a row and have had some difficulties getting Derek Favors and Rudy Gobert going at the same time. Derek Favors played so well when Rudy Gobert was out, and the Jazz can space the floor a lot better when only one of those two bigs is on the court, and with both of them healthy, it actually kind of hurts them a little bit in a lot of different ways. So, and just with how well the Celtics have been playing overall, like I say, the Jazz coming in on a little bit of losing skid and not really knowing where they are defensively right now with kind of integrating in these new players. Sounds like Joe Johnson is likely to come back after missing 21 games, so that'll be a good sign for the Jazz. But other than that, you just got to say that the Celtics' talent overwhelms how well the Jazz are playing right now.
All right, he is Andy Larsen of ESPN Salt City Hoops. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter at Andy B. Larsen. Don't forget the B, Andy B. Larsen on Twitter, and check out his work. You can also hear him on ESPN 700 on Thursdays from 7 to 9. Hey, Andy, thanks for checking in, man. I appreciate it. And hey, I'll see you tonight at the Garden.
Hey, sounds good.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Celtics pregame report. Be sure to check out the Garden Report right after the game on the CLNS Media YouTube channel, where you can check out all the full-length interviews from the players and coaches. Only place you can find full-length videos, post and pre. CLNS Media has got you covered with, of course, plenty of reaction from tonight's game. Weekday shows air on the Celtics Newsfeed channel, on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media mobile app. For today's Boston Celtics pregame report with Josue Pavone, this is Josue Pavone signing off.